Hello, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 352 for February 5th, 2020. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this week's journey into the world of advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. Let's introduce the amazing panel that we have and get the show on the road. My co-host, my wingman, the Sancho Panza to my Don Quixote, Mr.
Wow.
Tony Schaefer.
Wow, that was, I'm not really sure what to make of that. I mean, I try to be more of an Iago to your King Lear, but I'll take what I can get. Somebody out there got that. Someone understood that.
I hit the Dennis Miller ratio, but yes, somebody got it.
I was just trying to think of who besides me and maybe Connor, I don't know, Coughlin. Maybe Coughlin went to school. I have no idea.
Yeah, three semesters of Shakespeare right here. Three semesters of Shakespeare. Yes. Anyway.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah, how is that for the career?
Yeah.
Would you like fries with that?
Out of it.
Somebody's got to make the fries.
Yeah, so I have a couple of shout outs. So first of all, tomorrow, February 6th, is the first of 2 media days for the 2020 Chicago Auto Show. Shout out to our man, John B., who I believe may be in downtown Chicago as we record this show. I'll be meeting up with him in the morning, and he and I will spend 2 days at the Chicago Auto Show recording videos and whatever else we can come up with doing. Yes. So that's going to be fun. Second shout out to a lovely young lady who I've just recently had the opportunity to make an acquaintance with, a woman by the name of Moira Coughlin, who emailed me to let me know that she watches the show with no familial obligation whatsoever.
Don't know who that would be.
I got nothing.
Is that like Moira of Schitt's Creek, or?
I don't know, Mark.
I am not answering that question.
Is this relationship illegal because it crosses international borders?
I don't know, baby.
No, that's my sister. Yeah,
Oh.
she started to watch the show every once in a while, and now she likes it. So she's stuck. She's watching right now. Hello, Moira.
Hi, Moira.
So she responded to, and I put this out recently. If you listen to the audio podcast, we get no statistics on any of this stuff. And I'm just throwing it out there. Send me an email, tony@whatdrives.us. I'm going to go with the expectation that every one email I get represents 1,000 listeners, which means they're just crushing it.
I'm sure that we get statistics, we just don't know how to access them, because all the podcasts that are out there have to be getting metrics of some sort. But that's okay.
I'm sure. Yeah. hey, did I mention 3 semesters of Shakespeare?
And no classes on podcasting.
No,
Exactly.
Or statistics?
Can you tell?
Yeah.
Actually, I did take one on statistics, but nothing to do with podcasting.
There we go. Well,
Okay, that's long enough on me.
we've already heard from his sister, so let's hear from him, our friend in Canada, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I've got some interesting news for you this week for sure. So let's get to it.
And since he was the only one that got a news story in last week, I
snuck it in. I just snuck it in under the wire.
I can't wait to hear what Mark has for us this week. Our friend in the Pacific Northwest with the most interesting office background in podcasting, Mr. Patrick Connor.
I will take my turn tilting at windmills here. Speaking of auto shows, Tony mentioned the Chicago Auto Show. There's also the Portland Auto Show coming up, and the OEVA will be there. It's February 20th through the 23rd, I believe. And we have an Electric Avenue area, and 4th is going to be having EV ride and drives. So if you want to scoot around in one, there's your chance to go check out an EV and talk to people who own them and drive them every day and They'll tell you both the good and the bad, because it's not all one way, regardless of which source you're reading that says it's all great or all horrible. The real life's in between. Talk to real owners and find out the truth.
The best way to do it. Absolutely. We'll look up the OEVA at the Portland Auto Show, and you'll probably see Patrick's smiling face.
No.
No.
I social media outreach.
No, he'll be upset.
Yeah. He'll be outside smoking with the cool kids.
He'll be in the crowd.
No, cool kids vape now.
Oh, I'm so old and out of it.
Patrick is going to be that guy in the crowd, and when someone calls him, "Excuse me, sir, we've never met before. Have you ever ridden in an electric vehicle?"
Gee, can I? Well,
And it's disguised like an ice cream truck.
with a meat hook in the back.
God, that went dark fast.
That is our theme to this show. At least no koalas were roasted.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was bad.
even my dog likes that. Speaking of the cool kids, he is the owner and founder of Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, glad to be back. And my beer, because we had a foot of snow yesterday, is Winter Day.
Snow day.
Snow day.
Or Snow Day. Snow Winter Day. Winter Ale. It was 73 on Sunday here, and then it just went to shit.
It was 35 last night.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing in Colorado how you can have days that a summer
we went
day, a
from
winter day, a spring
73
day.
to 22 in like 14 hours.
That's as volatile as Tesla stuff.
Yikes.
Yes, the Tesla stock weather report.
That's it. It's stock buying weather or stock selling weather. And last and not least, a person who I don't think is going to be able to acknowledge this introduction, but he is our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region. You will find him at youtube.com/Casey Green, Mr. Casey Green, and he's finishing up some business. But we're going to enjoy his contributions on the show once it gets started. So let's get this show on the road. First thing, I just wanted to, so Tony broke the news. Him and John are going to be at the Chicago Auto Show for the next day or two.
2 days.
2 days. So look for a flurry of videos from there. I am going to be at a secret Toyota. Oh, and my dog is very upset about that.
Give away the secret.
Yeah. She doesn't want me to go. At a secret Toyota all-wheel drive event located somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. And I will be reporting from there about all of the all-wheel drive vehicles over the weekend. And then in the following week, I'll have an update on the all-wheel drive Camry.
Awesome.
So lots of exciting new
Camry or just
videos.
Regular.
I'm sorry?
Is it a hybrid all-wheel drive or regular?
You know what? I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Hybrid, hopefully.
Might be. That's a very good question, Paul. I'm going to have to look. But we'll, I will be posting some videos this weekend, just some little short stuff, some live stuff, and then more finished edited stuff over the next week afterwards. So lots of cool new content. And that's right. That's what I was trying to think of. This is why you want to subscribe to us at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. You want to definitely hit the subscribe button. You definitely want to hit the bell for notifications so that you get a little notice when we post new shows, and you can go check them out.
Yeah, it'll show up in the little number in the corner. How many videos you have to watch will be in the number. If you just subscribe, it will occasionally recommend us. But if you check that box, you'll know for sure that we had something come out.
There you go. And that is the voice of Mr. Casey Green, whose face you saw during the introduction, but did not hear his voice. So anyway, let's see. So that's enough of the sort of house business. First story of the week. I love this story, and then it kind of blew up on Twitter, which sort of bummed me out because I was hoping that we'd be able to talk about it before people knew about it. Now everybody's probably already seen it, but there was a wonderful Google map, sort of a hack. I hate the way that word is used, but basically a person who is described as an artist. Does that just mean he's unemployed?
Yeah.
That's what I've used. So I'm just saying. Simon.
He sat in front of me in Shakespeare.
And,
And next to you with the fries.
Yes.
totally
We
get
share
that.
a grill.
Simon Wecker. Simon Wecker did something very, very cool and very interesting. And the whole point was that we think of Google Maps in this very static kind of, it's a map thing, and it's actually not. It's actually an aggregation of data. And that data can be changed and skewed and shifted. What Mr. Wecker did was he took a gorgeous red radio flyer wagon and filled it with 99 Android devices. And he was his own traffic jam on Google Maps, walking through the streets with his little wagon in tow. And just something about this that I love. I love the anarchy sort of part of it. And I love the idea that someone thought of this and said, there's no integrity to this data. This isn't a map. You know what I mean? This isn't something that's hard and fast. It just is what Google thinks it is at that time. And
so give me a second. I'm bringing this up here.
Pictures of him with the wagon.
To be fair, if there were that many phones moving that slowly, it would be a pretty gnarly traffic jam if it weren't in this arrangement.
Yeah. And you make it sound like he's hacked the map or changed the roads or something, and it's the traffic data that's being modified here. But still, it is kind of cool.
There certainly are ways to Google has systems to sort of check that, but again, it's I love the idea that he played with the idea that this was not that this isn't something that's fixed, that this is just the data as Google gets it at the time.
Right.
This is awesome. Here he is standing here in the middle of this street, and you can see the traffic on the other side.
Yeah.
And here's the corresponding map. And he's standing right here, and there's the traffic on the other side. It's such a perfect one-to-one how he's playing the system. And we talked about Waze, I remember last year, and how Waze was routing people into these little subdivisions and stuff, and how people were so angry about this. So people would go outside and they would report an accident or a speed trap or whatever. This is so much easier and brilliant.
Criminals could have an accomplice to rob the bank and have a clean getaway, right?
Yeah.
And avoid those streets, so they would just fly down them.
One of the things
the guy with the wagon.
Now that I have this picture up, one of the things is all of these have to have the geo, they have to be activated, and they have to have Google Maps up and running for it to collect all that data.
This is kind of self-policing, though, because, of course, when he gets his cell bill at the end of the month, he'll stop doing it.
Well, and obviously it's 100 cell phones or one less than 100, but I mean, which aren't cheap, and then you've got to have 99 accounts, and but again, what if somebody built some sort of hardware emulation that you could put 6 different accounts on your phone, and everybody on a street was 6 cars?
Yeah.
Could you Raspberry Pi it? Yeah.
Well, I'm 2 or 3 cars when I roll down the road. I mean, you've got the Tesla map, you've got my phone, you've got my work phone. So I'm 3 cars already right there.
Yeah, that's true. And if you have passengers, maybe even more.
Yeah.
So as he's marking this road as congested, ironically, that means that it's going to divert traffic away from there, which will make it even more free and clear. Which is why he can sit there in the middle of the road. Until somebody goes that way that has their phone on and they see that they zip right through at the speed limit or even faster, maybe then Google can figure out that something's not quite right there.
That it's a motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
It's a motorcycle cutting lanes, or it's a bicycle carrier. Courier.
It could be, Or that there's 99 phones that are all hacked and not real, that can't be trusted.
Right.
Yeah, he might find himself locked out. Although I will say this, living where I live, if I see that map turn blood red, I'm not going to risk seeing if it's clear or not.
See, exactly, right? Like, who's going to...
Well, not everybody navigates by Google Maps. Some people are using Apple Maps or Waze, or some people are just going the way they know and not using technology to get them there.
There's that. But if he was using 99 iPhones, then he would tie up Google Maps and Apple Maps at the same time.
Ah, except they're more expensive.
They're way more expensive.
I got nothing.
That was fun.
I got nothing. Let's go to our next story that has nothing to do with hacking, at least as far as I know, and nothing to do with Google. Mr. Coughlin.
I've got a story about the Hyundai Kona EV.
Do you?
This car, this small SUV, and I do mean small, is very popular in Europe and North America. The car actually has been difficult to purchase here in my area. In fact, there's a large waiting list, and allocation has to be given out to dealerships, and they only get a few of them, and they move rather quickly. Well, apparently they've just opened a new second factory, this time in the Czech Republic, to roll out almost double the amount of Kona EVs. So it's good to see that Hyundai has responded. They now have a second factory that's up and running. I believe 46,000 is what they're going to pump out in the Czech Republic. And their original factory in South Korea does about 48,000. But certainly being able to lighten the load on one factory, spread the cars out a little bit more, and hopefully those dealers that are dying for some allocation can get more of the vehicles because it's been short supply at this point, and a lot of people are forced to look elsewhere because they can't sit back and wait a year and hope to get allocation next year. So it's interesting to see that that they've taken the stance. Obviously, they're seeing it in their sales figures and figure it's a good play for them to double production.
Any indication if any of those European-made cars will make it to North America, or are they just for the EU market?
I would imagine they're for the EU market, and then that would free up the South Korea to produce more North American cars.
Right.
Yeah,
That would make sense. So, is this a carb state car, or is it nationwide? Because I've only seen one ever.
I think right now it's carb, but they're
Yeah.
trying to go 50 states.
Yeah, there was one at the grocery store the other day at the Volta charger, and it upset me. And I realized it was not a fossil car. I was like, oh, okay.
you step down from your anger. Yes.
Well, there's only 2 spots at the grocery store, and it's usually like a Nissan Leaf or a Prius Prime. I'm like, the Prius Prime, you're done before you even get to the register.
What's really nice about this car, this small SUV, is that it's a factor where it's up a little bit. You sit a little higher. It's a smaller car still, but it gets excellent efficiency mileage. The amount that they say from the EPA that it definitely gets it. And if you drive a little bit conservative, you get way over it. So it's a great little car. I've had the opportunity to ride around in one, and I know a number of people from the Waterloo Region EVA own them and rave about them. So it seems to be a solid little EV that is making a dent, and people are looking for it now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I didn't drive the Kona. I haven't had the Kona yet, but I had the
Nero?
the Kia Niro. Yeah. And I absolutely
It's the
fell in
same
love with Kia
platform,
Niro.
right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, are they?
If I could,
Do those have a partnership?
who? Hyundai and
Hyundai and Kia.
Kia?
Same company.
It
They're
is.
almost
same
the same
company.
company.
Toyota Lexus. Same
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, a Toyota Lexus, Honda Infiniti, Tesla, it's like that.
Not accurate.
Yeah. But yeah, I keep asking to get a Kona, and I understand why they're not giving me one because they keep selling them. But if it's anything like the Niro, and the Hyundai Sonata that I drove for about a week and a half, I absolutely fell in love with that car. I remember 20 years ago when you couldn't give away a Hyundai, and now they just seem to be crushing it.
Who has
They-
the
they-
Genesis brand?
Hyundai.
Same company.
Same
Hyundai.
company.
Okay, yeah. So I knew they had that one. I didn't know they had the other two. Okay.
Yeah.
Genesis, Hyundai. Kia.
Supposedly they're
it's-
separate
okay.
companies, but they're really the same company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like Volvo and Polestar? They both qualified for separate
Yes,
200,000 vehicles because they're legally separate enough that they get separate allocations.
Yes.
But like you strip the metal off the outside of the frame, and they're the same car.
I don't.
One has
gets
nicer
more
seats.
plush interior.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Russell, you had a Genesis, right? You did a review on our channel for a Genesis.
Yes,
Two
you did.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I liked it. In fact, I'm talking to Hyundai right now, trying to get the Kona EV soon. I would like to do that. So Hyundai, to get it and drive it, because there's a whole spate of new Hyundais that I have not driven. The Nero, for instance. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we need: EVs in more shapes and sizes and offerings and brands and enough to fit all the niches. So I'm happy to see this and that people are loving it. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did a nice review on the Soul. I hated the turbo version, the turbo ICE version, but the EV version was a lot of fun to drive.
Cool.
So again, that strata of sort of that Kia being, how shall we say it, delicately, more entry-level priced than Hyundai, and then Genesis being the luxury brand. It's good that all of those companies, or at least Hyundai and Kia, are developing vehicles at the same time so that we hit different price points. We allow more buyers into the market.
It's almost
Exactly.
like Hyundai Kia have figured out the Scion Lexus Toyota model.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah, or maybe they just aren't quite as uptight about it as Toyota was, and you know what I mean? Like yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to go anywhere with that. Let's go on to the next story.
Sorry. I had to pick it up.
Who we have from Paul, and it's about, again, making space for electric vehicles.
Yeah, it's a story's a little old now. Came out last month, but basically there's movement by the International Code Council. I guess they come up with standards for electrical codes to make all new construction in America EV ready. Costs are significantly less, like if they're building a home or a condo, to sort of pre-wire for an EV charger. If they do it as they're building the unit, it's about $920, where if you try to retrofit it once the home is built, it's $3,500. And since the writing on the wall is that more and more people own EVs, it makes sense for this to be written into the electrical code of various states and cities, some of which are already doing it. The article talks about cities, Seattle, Atlanta, Denver,
Palo Alto.
even Boulder, I know here has some rules on that. I know Vancouver, BC has a rule that X% of spots in a condo parking garage have to be EV ready. So this is a good thing, because if you're buying a new home and one of the features is it's EV ready, then it's going to make you want to buy an EV more easily, because you don't have to go out and spend $4,000 on an electrician to get it a circuit run to charge your EV. So
Right. It's so easy to run conduit before you put up the drywall.
yeah,
And it's such a pain after the fact to do it.
absolutely.
So yeah, it's super easy to add. It's not even like you have to install the charging unit or even the wiring. You just have to put in the conduit.
Exactly.
And that's all it takes. And they should do the same thing for solar. Have conduit run up to the roof so that you can wire it back down to your breaker box.
Yeah, that was my strategy when I rented out my house. It's got a 100 amp Tesla charger. It's got so it's 80 output, and it's got solar on the roof, and I actually pay the electric bill if they don't go over the solar output. So right now I've got some guys in there that are not electric vehicle owners, but by the time their lease is up, they may be. And where are you gonna go if you don't buy your own house that's got everything you're used to?
Right.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I can't find it, but I am in an email group for Chicago alt fuel vehicle and advanced stuff. And last month, the message came through that Chicago is getting ready to vote on implementing a very similar strategy for all new multi-resident buildings built within city limits of Chicago, that they all must have the wiring. They must be charging ready.
That's good.
So
Because
that's, yeah.
here in this area, I meet so many individuals at the various superchargers because the multifamily has no incentive to put in a level 2, a level 1, a DC charger.
Right.
And so we treat it like a weekly gas station stop, which is ridiculous. But
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
just think
bring
about how
some
much.
cards. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, but think about how many more tenants you would keep because you're the only one that's got 1 or 2 stalls that people have to share out every week.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tony-
workplace charging
Tony-
too.
Tony, you just bought a new house. I was wondering when you went looking for a new house and knowing what you know about electric vehicles and what your family's going to do in the future, did you make that a consideration when you were shopping?
Yeah, yes and no. So yeah, I did make sure that there were, multiple, standard 120 outlets in the garage. There's going to be 2 plug-in cars in the garage soon. Made sure that it was wireable for level 2. And then I figured, well, if it's not, then I'll just not buy an EV. And I hear, the new Dodge Ram 2500 is coming out.
I hear that
with the diesel button that says like blast smoke on the Prius.
Right. Because if you've never done that in a closed garage, you're just not living. No, Mark. I mean, yeah, seriously.
If you do it in a closed garage, then you won't be living. That's
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the first half of that was the serious part. Yeah, I definitely, we definitely did look and made sure that, the electrical was sufficient. I always looked at the box, at the electrical
and the panel
box.
near the garage, not on the other side of the home.
Right.
Yes. For having to run the thick cables out and stuff. But yeah.
So when we were looking for the house that we just left, we also were in the same boat. We were driving the Volt at the time, and then shortly after the other Tesla, wanted an unfinished garage or one that already had RV wiring or had an oven plug in there for good measure. And
welder.
yeah, exactly. I might decide to pick up welding, but definitely for the Volt. And then it came down to 2 almost identical houses. One had 8 solar panels, and the other had nothing. And for some reason, by the time we moved in, it had 16 solar panels. So we added more just because.
Wow.
It has 27 on it right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of solar.
It was. It made our electric bill go from either negative to $20 filling up the Model X. And we never had an electric bill when we were on just the Volt. And one time we had an electric bill with the Model S. And it would also roll back the gas bill. There was just so much electric. They were like, just don't send us any money.
Are you going to keep all those? I mean, you're using up all the sun. You need to share it.
Don't let that town in North Carolina know.
You're cooling the sun off. We've heard that.
Right.
We know
Yeah.
how this works.
You broke the sun.
I broke it.
Wind turbines can blow the Earth off of its axis, I hear.
Right. Slowing the Earth down. Yeah.
And,
That's okay.
and give you cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The turbines keep us cool in the summer.
Yeah, speaking of this crackpot stuff, we have a fuel-funded think tank around here that Oregon was proposing doing the same sort of pre-wiring thing, and they were saying that's going to raise home prices for the poor, and only the rich are going to use it. And I was just, oh man,
$15 a conduit.
Yeah, exactly. You
Possible for
pre-wire
people to
for
get a house.
conduit, and then if someone who is of moderate means wants to buy an EV, they can do it without a whole bunch of upfront costs for all this wiring, and then look at all the money they would save on fuel. You can buy a used Nissan Leaf relatively cheap, and even if you have payments on it, the payments are going to be about the same or less than you were paying for gasoline. So yeah, it's just that argument is so bad.
If, one of the points we made before, if you're a 2-car household and one person in the home has a modest commute, 10, 20, 30 miles, buy an old Nissan Leaf, even with a tired battery and a 60-mile range, it's going to cost you $7 or $8 grand. Pretty modern car, no maintenance, very little operating costs. It's a no-brainer as a second car. So.
Did anybody on that board have have any interest in the permitting process or the electrical installations? I'm wondering if keeping it expensive was in their interest.
Oh, I don't know why that would be. I don't,
No, it was
this was
supposed to be a joke about how they wanted
but
be expensive.
funded by big electricians. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Well, because like we were saying, how much does a little bit of conduit cost if the house is designed properly? Even if it's designed poorly, you're spending at what, maybe $100 of conduit if you had to get it from one side to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the payback on that is a month.
Yeah.
If that.
Exactly. It's off in the taxes. It's done.
Yeah.
And we have to start laying this foundation now, because how many new homes are built each year? It's not like the homes are torn down and rebuilt every 10 years.
It's so much easier to do before the sheetrock goes in, or the exterior wall,
or the concrete if you're going to go underground. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and as everyone here has already said, let me reinforce, it's so disingenuous for people representing developers and real estate agents to say it'll raise the cost of the house over the ability of the poor to buy it. Number one, in lots of places, the poor can't afford it anyway, no matter what. But that's ridiculous because it's merely taking money out of the developers' pockets. The houses sell for what people can buy them for. That rate is set by the market. And if the developer can get away with not putting in something that costs them $200 or $500 or whatever it is, they're going to take it and they're going to pocket it. They don't lower the price of the home.
But as time goes on, it's an amenity that more and more people will want. It's you don't see home builders saying, "Oh, the granite countertops, that adds too much cost to the house," but people want that shit. So
it's almost in their own best interest for them to do that, because they could list it as solar ready, EV ready. Absolutely. And then for the people that have that stuff and are interested in that stuff or think they might want to do that 5 years from now. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And then you can mark it up by the amount that's going to cost you. So what if it costs you an extra $12, $20 a house? You mark it up 15, 20, 30%, whatever your margin is. It is covered.
And if I was a builder, I would be putting my for sale signs on the Tesla superchargers around town. So
people, really,
especially around here.
Like Casey's little supercharger party, people say, "Hey, there's a house for sale that's EV ready. Maybe I should move there."
Right, especially if it's people from condos and apartments that are going to those because they can't charge where they live, and then they see that sign and they might be thinking, "Hey, this is a great idea. I've been thinking about moving in, and this one's ready. Let's do it."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
There you go. Right. Well, our next story involves some translated documents, a 2006 memo, and Toyota. And for that, we go to Mark? Oh, no. I lost it. Patrick. I'm sorry. Patrick.
No, it's not me.
I thought this was your article, Russell.
Why do you have it on?
I can take it.
One. We'll fix it in post.
Take it, Tony.
All right.
I'll be happy to talk about it.
Yeah. So if anyone happens to remember, back in the day, Toyota had a bit of an issue with what was called unintended acceleration, which at the time we had likened to Audi in the 1980s. Was it the Audi 8000?
5,000?
5,000 something. I don't know. But yeah, unintended acceleration, and people were saying the car just took off and the car wouldn't stop, and I had my foot squarely on the brake, but the car kept accelerating, and time and time again, every one of these were investigated, and for the most part, it came down to what is known in the business as pedal misapplication. The politically correct term for mashing the gas. Yeah, when you hit the gas, when you are supposed to be on the brakes, or you think your foot's on the brake, but your foot's on the gas. Okay, so we said a long time ago, we're like, okay, so these cars are coming out with front sensors, and if the car detects that they're within 15 feet of something and you mash the gas, the car should just not go. And Toyota has taken that idea and implemented it using pure software. No additional hardware was necessary. And they even took it one step further. And I had no real explanation in this article from in Daily Kanban. It was written by Bertel Schmidt. No real explanation as to how they implement it, but apparently one of the things they're doing is even if you're in a parking lot, even if there's nothing in front of you and you mash the accelerator, the car will override you and say that's a really bad idea. And apparently they say that they have, they've kind of cracked that and reduced accidents in parking lots by 70%, according to Tokyo headquarters Sergio Kuzumaki. He's a fellow in Toyota's advanced engineering arm. So, and then something like the remaining 30% is what they want to take care of next. Now, what I think is funny here in the article is that he says the technology will be first rolled out where it is needed urgently, namely at home in Japan. The number of traffic accidents in the age group 65 and older continues to grow.
Yeah.
So first Japan, then Florida, and then maybe Arizona.
California.
Yeah.
I was a victim of that. I was my condo building on the other side of the fence is like a theater or something, and some 80-year-old lady mashed the gas on her Mercedes and came barreling through the fence and hit my car on our property. And she said, I thought I was hitting the brake, but I must have hit the gas. And it was a brand new Mercedes. The car only had 30 miles on it. And
that's usually where it happens, is a new car.
Yeah, she felt like a complete loser, and too bad the car didn't have the smarts to say, hey, why are you going from a stop to full on when there's a fence in front of you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in a similar wreck. This 80-year-old woman T-boned us and then kept romping on the gas, broke loose from us, spun around, did a 180, and then crashed into the front of a house on the corner.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The funny thing was I was telling this story, and then someone else goes, no, I was sitting on the couch in this house when I saw these headlights coming at me. So I met the person that owned the house.
Wow. So I've got a story that ends a lot better than this. So Tesla has changed something in their programming. Our cars have sensors and they have electronic throttles. And
if you're 80, it doesn't let you drive.
So several times the cars thought it was trying to run over the guard at the facility I used to work at, and it wouldn't completely kill the pedal, but it would deaden it significantly. So that like a 70% application would get you like 2 miles an hour, and I don't use creep, so it's not a misapplication of the pedal in that case. But I think that the software doesn't care. So it's like there's a dude there, you're trying to run him over. Hey jackass, let go. And I'm guessing if I push my foot further, or he got out of the way. Usually he got out of the way. But I guess if I push my foot further, then it might be like, oh, well, you've had your foot down there for a second. You must know what you're doing. But it gives you plenty of time to realize, oh, this isn't the brake.
Yeah, nice.
This is great. Yeah, I like
Skinny
it.
one.
Cars are getting smarter. We're getting safer applications. This is all good stuff. Kudos Toyota and Tesla for these advancements.
Yeah.
But number 6.
Number 6.
And it says that the technology has been cleared by the NHTSA for implementation into production vehicles. So we might start.
The change was. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wonder if that's when the change happened. Like maybe whenever it got approved is when they turned it on, and that's when I noticed it.
Oh, that would make sense.
You were saying that the NHTSA approved the feature. And I wonder if when it got approved is when Tesla put it in an update, and that's when I started feeling it.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. But hopefully we'll start seeing this rolled out within the next few years.
Yeah, because we need it. I mean, even you don't have to be an 80-year-old person. I mean, as a young person, we've seen like the dude at the gym and the lady at the hairdresser with the performance model, whatever's the X and the S.
Right, the guy from Aladdin who crashed.
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell did a story covering unintended acceleration and how how you actually end up stepping on the wrong pedal and thinking you're on the brake, and so you press even harder on the accelerator, and the whole psychology behind it. And it was really enlightening how easy that mistake can happen, and how people are just convinced, even though they're they had a call where this person had called 911. They're in this car, it's out of control. The 911 operator didn't know what to tell them, and then they went through an intersection and died. Ooh. And so if they knew at the time and they said, okay, take both your feet off the pedals. Now take your left foot, the one you don't normally use, and put that on the brake. Just because it breaks you out of that mindset of what you. Right. Where you think that your foot is just going automatically. And they were talking about even how professional athletes can make this mistake, people who are very precise with their bodies, and it can happen to anybody.
Yep.
So be aware.
One thing I noticed that helped me out with it a lot is I don't drive with a shoe on the right foot. So I can instantly feel if it's on the big pedal or the skinny pedal because it's just me in a sock.
That's against the law in many states.
It is against the law in many states, but I do have a shoe on the other foot, so what are they going to say?
I'm not sure.
Give me half that ticket.
Half a ticket. Yeah, there it is. Yes. But this is my shooting hand.
I mean, here's a perfect example where it's giving you good feedback, valuable information of which pedal are you pressing. You need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
Well,
that's gonna help.
Anything that makes motor vehicles safer is something we all look forward to. Is something that we want, even if it's just saving property damage.
So, and the people in the cars,
and the people in the car potentially. Although, again, in most of these sudden acceleration things, there are people running into the back of the garage or running into a house, or like it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not the proximate cause of a fatal accident in most cases.
So, Tony, I know that we mocked what vehicle was it that when you stepped on the accelerator, it made an artificial engine noise? What was that?
Oh, that was the horrible Lexus UX-H. That is a horrible car. No one in their right mind could possibly like that car.
So that would be one advantage to this. If you step on the wrong pedal and you hear a roar of an engine, you might think, "Wait, that wasn't the one I meant," and that audio cue might help you.
Well, I see where you're going with that, but it hasn't helped people over the last 50 years.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
So on that Audi 5000, they actually found out that it wasn't anything to do with anything Audi did. It was just literally the confusion.
And he actually mentions that in the article, and he says the guy from Audi actually said, well, maybe the Americans should learn how to drive. And but Toyota, who takes the customer's always right attitude, sucked it up and actually accepted some of the blame and said, yeah, you're right, maybe we can do better with this. They paid out some settlements, but they saved face and walked away.
Yep, did a couple pedal clips and did the floor mat, make sure you weren't a dumbass with 2 floor mats.
Right.
And they started developing this technology that is now going to help people.
Yeah. Sorry, that was too judgmental. They made sure that you weren't unaware of the consequences of 2 floor mats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to Tony's next story that doesn't have anything to do with people who don't know the difference between the skinny pedal on the right and the wide pedal on the left. Mm-hmm. God forbid there's a clutch. We're not even
oh my God.
But at least it's not going anywhere when you push the clutch in.
Right.
Hopefully. Tony has a story about Rivian.
Well, it's so Rivian, as we know, last year received a what would you call it? An investment. Yes, there we go. Of an undisclosed amount
from capital infusion.
Ooh, an infusion.
I thought it was like 300 million. Didn't we have an amount on that?
They got a lot of large investments.
Yeah. Amazon invested in Rivian and ordered 100,000 electric delivery vans from Rivian.
Yes, but according to this article, here in Roadshow at cnet.com/roadshow, it says they invested an undisclosed amount in Rivian at this time last year, and then months later they announced plans for an unnamed delivery van. And we're starting to see mock-ups, and they have a picture of a clay model of what this delivery van is going to look like. And I got to tell you, quite frankly, it's kind of cute, and I really like it. And I do think it is really neat that they're putting all this money into Rivian, and it's another electric vehicle. And with all those, we were talking about this, what was it, just 5-6 shows ago, about are we killing ourselves with the consumer economy? And we were talking about the amount of vans that are driving around.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can take all of the Amazon vans and electrify them, then, I mean, that's going to take a huge dent off of the footprint of a delivery economy.
And if we can make them electric vans instead of drones, that would be awesome for the noise pollution.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and show some pictures. I mean, so here's
It's so small.
I know. Well,
it's actually not.
It's designed to deliver one package at a time.
That's the drone.
Yeah.
It pops out of a big van, drives off.
Yeah, until they get it automated, they're gonna have problem finding drivers.
Right.
And at least it's clay, not styrofoam.
It's actually it's Bezos' new plan to hire children. You don't have to pay an 8-year-old as much to drive.
Well, it's a new era. The Lollipop Guild is laying off people.
Oh.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah, I kind of the little round, roundish headlights here.
That's the Rivian signature.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very Rivian, which is good.
Yeah. There we go.
And we've talked about this before. I mean, it's a great application for an EV. It's 60-mile route. It goes to the barn every night to recharge, stop and go all the time. I mean, it just makes so much sense.
I hope they pull a U-Haul and Penske when they're done and sell these things at auction, and you can use them as campers or whatever. Just change the paint job.
Cool.
Yeah.
But
If
the
they pull
range
it-
isn't
Yeah, they
necessarily
might
going
do
to be
a
that.
UPS, and
Yeah, I hope they don't
UPS
do
doesn't.
UPS.
UPS
Yeah.
grinds them up, and they never get to the public.
Right, but even if not, I mean, Rivian, if they get permission to use the form factor or something and then just sell them like a Sprinter or like those. Yeah, but you're exactly right. Oh my God, that'd be a perfect little camper just to take out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or a tiny home for the vans.
So the advantage of developing an electric delivery vehicle for Amazon is that most Amazon routes aren't that mile intensive.
Yeah.
They're not several hundred miles a day. In fact, most Amazon routes run between 40 and 60 miles a day. So you don't have to build in 300 miles of range.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You could do heavier packages.
Which makes it less attractive as a consumer vehicle, I guess was my only point, because people are so range anxious about that. But yeah, no, I would love to have one as a camper. I would kill to have one as a camper. Now, would I want it to have more than 100 miles of range? Probably.
Yeah. I was assuming that by the time it was done, it might have a 30-mile range anyway. So you'd have to put a new battery in it. And by then they should have battery, like with the Nissan. They have a 200-300-mile Nissan drop-in battery from a third party.
I've heard about it. I don't know. Casey, you may know more
it's
about
real.
that. Yeah.
It may only be 1 or 2 prototypes, but there have been people who took a ride and said, "This is amazing."
Huh.
Getting back to more EVs and more form factors means more use cases. That's going to help advance the battery technology, economies of scale, make it go down the cost curve even more. This is awesome.
Yeah, and the noise pollution alone would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these heavy trucks, just like the garbage truck.
Speaking of Rivian, I have a little tangent here. I just saw something that said, have you ever noticed if a vehicle is named after a national park, a mountain, or a forest that it's super polluting? Rivian might be the first one to break that mold.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not Denali or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It might be the Patagonia of the automotive industry.
Yeah. They certainly wear a lot of Patagonia there.
Mm-hmm.
So for our final story, let's go back to Tony. And guess what?
What?
It's about trucks.
Yeah, speaking of form factors and whatever, I found this article in Green Car Reports. Robert Duffer wrote this, and it was 5 trucks that are coming to market, and how, and the title is 5 trucks will change America. Now that sounds, like, oh boy, they're trucks. What do you mean change America? And it might sound a little far fetched, but I won't say all, but many of my He-Man friends who hear me lecture about electric vehicles and, oh, this is going to be great. They're like, well, I don't want a car. I want a truck. I would drive my truck. I have to have my truck, and I'm not buying a car. I have a truck, and I need to haul stuff once a year. And well, I need a truck. And when are they going to have an electric truck? It's all they know is trucks.
Well,
trucks, dogs, and country music.
Top 2 or 3 selling passenger vehicles in the U.S. are all trucks. So
yeah,
that is where a big chunk of the market is at.
So and so I saw this article and I realized as absurd as that sounds, coming to market with an electric truck just might change people's attitudes and so we went down and we were talking about Rivian, the R1T, which hopefully will be available late 2020 at an expected price of about $69,000. And then he also mentions the Cybertruck, of course, and expected possible delivery in 2022, priced at $41,000 to $71,000. And then have you guys seen the Bollinger B2 prototype?
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty boxy, right?
Very boxy.
Cool. It is the
It's like an 8-year-old made it with
anti-Cybertruck.
the Meccano set.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you took 2 5-year-olds and put them down and said, draw a truck, one would draw the Cybertruck and the other would draw the Bollinger. Yes, yeah.
The Bollinger has a pass-through that goes all the way from the rear out through the front. That I thought that was pretty neat.
That is pretty cool. Where did he put 16 feet stretch from hood to the bed? Yeah. $125,000 for that. He mentions the Ford F-150 electric, and the possibility. It's been kind of touch and go, but we're really expecting Ford to actually hit it with the F-150. And we had mentioned before on the show with their partnering with Rivian, right? Was it Ford partner with Rivian? Ford. Mm-hmm. So so they might be getting some Rivian technology there to help give them a jump start. And then of course the Chevy Silverado 1500E, which might not be changing much anytime soon. And then rounding out the 5 is, if you guys were watching the Super Bowl, you saw the commercial for the GMC Hummer EV.
There was a grill.
Yeah.
Not a lot of detail there.
It had LED lights.
Ooh.
The hype made it seem like we would see more than just the grill that they'd already showed us when they hyped it up.
Right.
May 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
then
am I
they'll
the
show
only
us-
one?
then they'll show us
Am I
the
the only
silhouette.
one that thinks that the Ford F-150 electric should be called the E-150?
That would be awesome.
Yes. It exactly should be, and then they would be able to come out with different models.
Actually,
and
how
give them
about the
different perks.
E240, since it charges on 240 volts?
You got the
Nice.
E120 and the E240.
E120.
The entry level model.
Yeah.
The work truck.
Only goes 30 miles an hour for 20 miles.
Yeah. This one takes 3 days to charge. This one takes
Yeah.
6 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't diss level 1 too much though. I used it for over a year on my Model X, and it worked fine for my needs. So if you don't drive
If you have
much,
a modest commute, like
exactly.
I have a Prius Prime. I think I've charged it once on 240. Because 120 in a few hours, it's topped up.
Yeah, but what's your battery size, Paul?
Tiny.
Yeah.
8.8.
Right, but it's not so much the batteries; it's how much you're using.
Yeah,
right?
it's a 30 mile
exactly.
range.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
if,
I mean,
if
I
I,
live 3 miles from work. So big
Yeah,
deal.
I have a huge battery pack in the X, but I was only driving 20 miles a day, and it had 10 hours overnight, so that was plenty to get me back to 20.
that's what I was going to say. Even if I had a 300-mile Tesla, my commute is still 26 miles both ways.
So there you go. Well, it's very cool that we're finally going to maybe tap the most mainstream of the mainstream market in trucks. Something that we haven't done. And Rivian, we've been talking about them for a while, and we'll see if Ford delivers. GM, Mark, I want you to say
Good
something positive about GM because I won't.
GM's going to they've invested $4.2 billion in a battery plant and redoing Hamtramck to make nothing but EVs. I gotta believe they're going to come out with a range of different vehicles. You can't spend that kind of money without having a plan, and having a huge battery plant and a revamped EV manufacturing area is, I think it speaks highly of them. I think they're going to do it.
And they've got some experience. I mean, the Volt and the Bolt are decent cars. So
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've said this for years. I'm shocked it's taking so long to bring trucks to market. With that much skateboard room, a truck should be the obvious EV.
Right, but with trucks you have the requirement. Well, they're not very aerodynamic. People are going to want to tow and haul.
They're
Those
strong,
are all
they're beefy, so they're heavy.
right. Yes, every one of those makes it a little more challenging, and so the technology has had to advance.
Then you end up with monstrosities that are stressed skin instead of traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once you have something heavy, then you have to put in a lot of batteries, and that adds weight, and it's a downward spiral of cost.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, anybody have one more thing? Wow, I automatically, my eyes go to one person on the list. So, yeah, Coughlin, I'm looking at you. But that's it. Well, that's a good week. Let's do some shout-outs and go home. Let's start with the man who is quiet in the introductions, Mr. Casey Green.
I wasn't that quiet. You just couldn't hear me. So
We weren't listening, Casey. I was trying to be polite. Okay, come on.
Gotcha. So if you go to youtube.com/Casey Green, that's KACEYGREEN, you'll see my week with the new Tesla software update, as well as several other people's time with the new software update. It was a minor update in lettering and in what was included in the changelog, but in the actual implementation, depending on what country you live in and what car you're driving and what the car is equipped with, it was completely different for everybody. And so you can hear about it there. And
This is
then
the
later,
first 2020 release?
the first 2020 release. Well, for me, it was the second, because I didn't get the .0, but somebody did. I got the .1. And then later on in the week, we'll do another supercharger review as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, check out Casey on YouTube today. Let's see. If you live on the Front Range, this is the man you want to talk to. Let's go to Paul Guzik.
I'll just talk about Boulder Hybrids, boulderhc.com. If you need your hybrid or EV repaired, or you want to buy a used EV, in lovely Boulder, Colorado, where recently there were 2 Model Ys at the local supercharging station.
Wow.
I didn't get to see him live, but it's all over the internet.
So what's your special this week?
Got a couple of bolts. I got a Volt that just came in, but it's not on the website yet. So
All right.
tune it in later.
Hot off the presses.
Check back soon.
Yeah.
Or just go there now before he puts it on.
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, just send
What a
Paul an
good
email.
competition.
I want it. Just
Yeah.
take my money, okay?
Here's a down
Pay you
payment.
in beer.
Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello, I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeba.org, and we're on Facebook and Twitter, and I occasionally blog at carswithcords.net.
Where he's usually wrong about everything.
I have such a great record, actually, of my predictions.
How much
Better
beer
than
do you owe me,
anybody else
Patrick Connor? How much beer
I
do
think
you
it's
owe
the other
me?
way around. Let's go back over the record here.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to go back over. I may have to pay some kid to like index the shows because I feel like I'm going to be swimming in Pacific
Hey, we
Northwest.
never talked about what Tesla stock did today.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
there was
Let's
a
talk about
reason.
what it did yesterday, too.
There's a reason.
Yeah, today's a down day. I think it went back to what it was 1 or 2 days ago. So, yep, Tesla is a volatile stock.
Yeah.
I sold some at 900, so I needed to go down. I need to go down to at least 680 so I can buy back in at a good price. So, I'm actually hoping for it to keep going down for a couple more days.
You shorter.
Hater.
No, I'm not shorting. I'm just looking for
I
a
know.
place
Trying to buy
to
a
get in.
discount.
As long as you're playing with gambling money.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
The house
I
money.
hope those big oil paychecks cash, Patrick.
Yes.
Yeah, don't take stock advice. In a highly volatile stock like this, don't put any money that you're counting on to pay the rent. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
This is my Vegas money. It's not my retirement money. It's not my mortgage money. It's not my electric bill money. It's and so far so good. So I'm happy with that.
I wish there was like a rating system that popped up next to anybody or any organization that wanted to talk about stocks. Like you got a B plus. They did this is their prediction rate.
There
so many
are
people talking
analyst
crap.
trackers websites out there. I won't recommend any particular one, but yeah, there are some.
Well, I mean, like I just wish that like it was like when they're on the mainstream, when normal non-investor type people see them talking, they can see whether they're full of crap or not. That should be a law.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That would be cool. There's a ratings standards body, and if you give stock advice, you get a grade next to you every time, and it can even be different for different companies. Like if you talk about this one, okay, here's so far what's your rate of return been on that company? That would be cool.
That'd be sharp.
yeah, or how much you've made on stocks versus how much you get paid to talk about stocks.
Yes. I think they may have something like that because you always see them say, "Oh, I'm not going to make any positions in the next 96 hours." Blah blah blah.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
so I probably am. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just full disclosure.
Patrick's
Wide
just
open.
buying stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Mark Coughlin.
I want to employ you, if you have not clicked that like button, do it now. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Like this is prime content you could be missing out on. So definitely give us a subscribe, a like, and send us a comment. Let us know what you like, what you enjoyed from the show, and we'd love to read comments. So please do that as well.
Thank you, Mark, except for that one guy who just called me an asshole and then left.
Well, some of
Oh,
us
yeah,
like to read
that was-
comments.
Did you erase that comment, Tony?
No, I did
No,
not
that
erase
was Tony.
Like I was responding to him and I'm like, you don't have to be a jerk. Like I get it. You disagree with me. We can argue about it, but like,
You're replying to a comment that doesn't exist.
yeah, what
Right.
was the point of the, I mean, I
That was-
get it. And I admit I am an asshole. That's not in question.
Wasn't that who was that? Was that Mitt Romney? Did
Yeah,
that?
I think so.
With his fake
But-
his fake YouTube account?
The only reason I bring that up is I do, and I know Tony does as well. We like to get comments on the videos and we will respond. And if you say we're wrong, we'll talk about it and maybe we'll disagree. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But
And I
Maybe we'll
recently
hit
just last week I got called out for an ambiguity on one of my videos, and I want to go ahead and address it since we brought it up. In one of my hypermiling videos, and I think it was the very first one I recorded, why we hypermile, and I am trying to take people to task over the fact that we import, and this was in 2018, 41% of imported oil into the United States came from the OPEC conglomerates. And while I was speaking, over my shoulder where all the text is, it said OPEC 41%. And then I remember at the time I was thinking, well, people are going to ask, well, where's the other? If that's only 41%, that's still 59%. What about the others? So to fill in the blanks, I had put in that Canada 49%. We get 49% of imported oil in 2018 came from Canada, and then single digit from Mexico, single digit from Colombia. And that kind of rounded out most of it, and the rest were piddly percentages of percentages. So this person, it wasn't, and once I looked at it from fresh eyes, it was ambiguous. It made it look as though it said 41% was OPEC, and then perhaps of that 41%, 49% of that was Canada and Mexico and Colombia, as though I was accusing Canada of being in OPEC and undermining the United States and funding the terrorists that kill our soldiers. So he's like, we do not undermine the United States. Whoa.
We're your friendly neighbors to the north.
Yeah, I was like,
Canadian.
whoa, okay. You got Avril Lavigne and Celine Dion. If you could take those people back, we'll call it good.
wow.
And Justin Bieber.
And Justin Bieber, take them back. Give us Trailer Park Boys and the McKenzie Brothers, and we'll call it good.
Take off, eh?
Yeah.
And Letter Kenny's the new one.
Oh yeah. So that was, yeah, but you're right. No, Russell, you're absolutely right. And the reason I went on that a little bit of a tangent is we do enjoy interacting with the people who watch the shows and listen to the shows. We tend to have a well-educated, informed group of listeners, viewers, and subscribers. And we enjoy hearing from you because we do this because we enjoy having those conversations. I mean, I grow tired of talking to these guys. I want to talk to new people.
Yeah, and we don't even agree on everything on the show. We argue quite a lot. Russell and I are famous for it.
So with that, I want to say, as long as you're giving us feedback and whatever, if you want to know where to find us, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/whatdrivesus. And if you're just interested in keeping up on the alt fuel space and transportation, if you don't use Flipboard, I recommend it. I'm getting no kickback from Flipboard. I've been doing Flipboard commercials for years.
Big Flipboard's paying you, huh?
Yeah.
Under the thumb of big Flipboard.
Yeah. So just if you use Flipboard, look for the What Drives Us magazine. It's chock full of articles that I've curated and. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Philip Barclay. Jesus, Philip, I'm so sorry. I got my
It's
mom.
the end of the hour.
I know. My mom just texted me literally right as I was speaking. It totally broke my concentration. So Philip and I.
Your mom.
I swear
Throwing
to
her under the bus, Tony. Don't you could have just said I
you.
got
An electric bus, and that's okay.
Yeah, she won't get fumed.
Wow.
See, every week I'm afraid that when we start doing the wrap-ups, people are tuning out. They would miss all of this crap.
They're lost.
It's the best part of the show, really.
It's like the after the credits scenes in the movies nowadays. The best part.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's
I
go.
put mine in the middle for that reason.
You good, Tony?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for his amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Go buy his stuff on iTunes or wherever you like, except don't buy anything on CD Baby because CD Baby. What else? You can support this show on Patreon. Yes, we'll take your direct donations for as little as $1 a month, less than 25 cents per show. You can support this show at patreon.com/whatdrivesusshow. We are all over stinking social media. And by stinking, I mean stinking social media. You can find us at What Drives Us on Twitter. We're facebook.com/whatdrivesus if you so choose. And of course, youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Please subscribe, please hit the notifications, and look for what hopefully will be a torrent of cool, new, interesting stuff on new, interesting vehicles from Tony and I in the next week or so, as well as the weekly shows, where you can see people like Casey Green, Paul Guzik, Patrick Connor, Mark Coughlin, and Tony Schaefer every week here, digging deep, but not about Tesla stock.
Just had to end that.
I had to end that way. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. We'll see you next week, everybody, for more Tesla stock news. See ya.